Hi everybody, Jeremy Parson here, in-house educator for Ethica Wines. How's it going? I'm super excited today. There's Fattoria Le Pupille. Hey, we're going to be talking to Clara Gentili from Fattoria Le Pupille, and we're going to be tasting one of her wines today. I'm just waiting for her to get on the call. Hey Paolo, hey Alice. So glad you guys are here. Emanuele, great to see you. Great, thanks for being here. I think we're going to have a really great conversation today. Just waiting for Clara. I feel a connection. I actually only met Clara for the first time in... hey, Doug, man, thanks for being here. Great to see you. Ciao, Alice. I only met Clara for the first time, and we're just waiting for her to get on to request. Let's see if she's on here. And maybe she wants me to add, I don't know if she wants me to do Fattoria Le Pupille, or if she wants me to do Clara, but I guess we're going to do it. Let's see if I can add Fattoria Le Pupille. See, I met Clara for the first time. There she is. Hey,
Hi.
sorry,
Hi.
I wasn't sure if you were going to do your personal account or you were going to do your winery account.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Looks so beautiful where you are. Is it a beautiful day there, or you're
Yeah,
at
it's
home at the
beautiful and
winery?
sunny and warm, so it's very, very nice.
It looks really, really, really nice. I was
Yeah.
just saying, I first met you for the first time ever when we got together to do a media dinner in Florida early last month. But I feel like I know you and your
Yeah.
family because I've known the wines back in the day when I worked in retail in New York. I used to sell the wines, and I knew the wines, and today, well, anyway, I'm really excited that you're here. I have so much to unpack and say about you and your wines. But first of all, how are you and your family?
Here we are all safe and healthy. Maremma and Tuscany in general are have been one of the luckiest area, and we can consider ourselves very, very lucky. So
and you spend your time on the estate, so you're in the country all the time. If you're not traveling for work, hey Patrick, good to see you, man. You're always at the farm, so you're not in an urban area.
No, exactly. We all live in the countryside. I live in the countryside, and my mother and my other family as well. So, as I was saying, we really feel lucky also for, like, we can stay outside and be in the nature, have a nice walk. So we can't complain at all. Ciao, Damiano.
I'm glad. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that in Italy, parts of Lombardy and parts of Veneto were severely affected, but down in Tuscany, there was some problems in the cities, but mostly Tuscany's been okay. So I'm glad to hear that. What's going on at the winery? Are you guys working at the winery, or?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, wineries in general, being an agricultural sector, they were always allowed to stay open and to work. So we never had any lockdown or any closure. Of course, we have a little less people working, but this is, of course, to guarantee everyone to stay in a healthy and safe place. But wineries must go on, because we are dealing with nature, and we can't stay
Yeah.
we can't stay closed, you know, for more than 2 days. Otherwise, it's a big problem. So
People don't.
everything
I
is
mean,
working well, and
good, good.
all the works are still going on, of course.
And people don't realize. I mean, obviously, the grapes don't stop growing because people have stopped
Exactly.
moving around. But also, people may not know when you work in a winery, it's a full year-round job. I mean, you have there's winemaking that needs to go on, and tanks that need to be racked, and
Yeah,
so
especially for us, this is one of the busiest time of the year, both for the cellar works and for the countryside work. So we are doing some of the most important things that we have to do through all the year. So yeah, this is the it's
well,
really the
good.
main part of the year. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that things are going well, and I wish you guys, health and safety. Like I said, I first got to taste your wines, your family's wines, this is like back in the mid 2000s when I was working in New York, and it was a really exciting time. And I was very lucky that I got to taste the wines, and I got to really spend some time with them. And as I was getting ready for our live story today, I was thinking about, over the last 20 years, Super Tuscans
Mm-hmm.
have gotten such a bad rap. A lot of people don't understand what, Super Tuscans really are. And we also forget that in the era when everybody was against Super Tuscans, it was more that they were against the writers who said, "Oh, this is the best Italian wine, and there's no other good Italian wine." And like
Mm-hmm.
when I think about when I think about some of the wineries in Bulgari and Maremma today, a lot of them are on the valley floor. They're not in the hills. A lot of them just make a Cabernet and Merlot blend. And a lot of them are not owned by families, and there's not this legacy of a family that's been doing this. And your wine is exactly the opposite. It was founded by your mom. Hey, Ridolfi from Montalcino. Great to see you guys. Your winery was founded by your mom, I think in the late 70s,
By
right?
my grandfather. By
For
my
your
grandfather.
grandfather.
Yeah, in the
So
60s, and then my mother was the one to start taking care of the winery in 85.
And so these are not wines that, 10 years ago somebody said, I'm going to make another Cabernet blend. But by the way, you guys don't just make a Super Tuscan, you also make a classic. I mean, your wine is the benchmark. We tasted an 82 Morellino
Yeah.
when we were in Miami together. That's one of the best wines I've tasted this year. What an extraordinary wine. You guys make classic Sangiovese Morellino, right? And you
Yeah.
also make Super Tuscan.
For
You
Tuscan.
also are one of the few, I call you an OG Super Tuscan because you're one of the original gangster Super
Mm-hmm.
Tuscan. You're also one of the few wineries that's up in the hills. You grow your wines up in the hills, which is, I think, kind of what sets the larger field of Super Tuscans apart from the really great classic style wines. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of your family's winery, and can you also explain to people geographically, like Bulgari is to your north. You're not in Bulgari. You're actually
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
more wild part. So please.
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's very important to explain the difference between Maremma and Bolgheri, because actually they're very, very close. So some people sometimes confuse the two areas or the two regions, and this is also because Maremma doesn't have really like exact lines like Bolgheri. And some people call Bolgheri the high like high Maremma, Maremma Alta.
Mm-hmm.
But they're two very different areas. So Bolgheri, it's basically the area around the village of Bolgheri, and it's a very different region from Maremma. As you were saying before, Bolgheri, it's mostly quite flat, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not hilly. It's right in front of the sea, and if you look, like, it's all flat, and then there are some hills like this, but it's not hilly. So it's quite easy to recognize, the area geographically. I have something in my eye. Okay. While Maremma, it's very, very different, because first of all, Maremma, it's a wide area, and it's all the area surrounding the county of Grosseto. And
Mm-hmm.
compared to Bolgheri, the main thing about Maremma is that Maremma is really diverse. So we
Yeah.
have some areas which are maybe like flat, like Bolgheri, but most of Maremma is very hilly. And then we have also some parts, especially in the northern part of Maremma, where there is a mountain, so we have snow like every year. This is not where we have the vineyards, but it's still part of Maremma. And so Maremma, it's a really diversified area,
Yeah.
which is really important for winemaking and for growing, for agricultural process, I think, in general.
I've traveled a lot through your part of Tuscany because, that's when you come from Montalcino and you
Yeah,
go towards Grosseto. So
yeah,
you have to drive. That's the only way to get to the coast.
yeah.
And every time I go there, I'm always impressed by how wild it is. By, like
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, the geography is diverse. There's biodiversity. There's
Yeah,
not a lot
exactly.
of
Biodiversity.
development,
Yeah.
and when you're there, you walk through the vineyards there, you just feel the life that's in this place. Whereas when you're up in Bulgari, in uh, upper Maremma,
Yeah.
everything is so perfect, and it doesn't have that wild character that you
Yeah,
guys
Maremma
have.
is very wild. It's very wild also because it's I don't know the reason, but it's the less known part of Tuscany,
Yeah.
and also the most authentic, I think, because we don't have so much tourism, or especially from people outside Italy. It's not so common to come here. It's so it's I think it's really interesting, because you really get to see an authentic part of Tuscany, which is it's quite hard to find. So
I was gonna I would have been visiting with you. I was so looking I can't wait till I can get back there. And I used to go hang out in Castiglione della Pescaia with all my friends from Montalcino. So I love that. It's such a great part of it. We talked a little bit about you guys, so many of the wineries in Bolton, the flatland right in front of
on
the
the flat,
sea.
yeah.
You guys, you can see the water. Can you see the
From
water from your farm?
Okay, so actually from the estate, we can't see the sea, because the estate, it's quite low. It's almost at the sea
Uh,
level, so it's quite low. But from
uh,
75% of our vineyards, we can see the
there you
sea.
go. Yeah. So
So that's the main thing about.
it's a couple of miles inland. It's not right on the sea.
Exactly,
It's
exactly,
on
yeah.
the hills looking out toward the sea.
Looking
And
towards the
guys,
sea, yeah.
that's for everybody who's following. And thank you guys for being here for the Wine's Life Story. That's the secret, is that you have the ventilation from the breeze, but you don't humidity that causes
Yeah, yeah,
problems in the vineyards. So you're able to farm much more naturally and you have the altitude that gives you the diurnal shift. That's when you go to the original gangster, the OG Super Tuscan houses, that's the key. They're up in they're not right at the sea where they're getting too much moisture from the ocean. What about the soil types that you guys have up there?
Yeah, the soil are as well as the region in general, they're quite different, and they change a lot from plot to plot, really. In general, we have mostly vineyards where the soil is rich of sandstone. That is like a very brittle stone that gives wines that are quite elegant and not too powerful, which is it's very important, especially for the vintages which are more warm. And then we have some other vineyards that are rich of mineral substances, like iron or this kind of other substances, and some others they have clay, but just a little bit. So they're all quite dry, we can say.
I'm so glad that you mentioned, because I think one of the most interesting things about that part of Italy, wine in that part is sandstone. We always think the only place you can grow great wines is in limestone, and then people said, well, you can grow great wines in volcanic soils, and that's true too, some of the greatest wines. But we don't realize that there's so many great wines from Italy, even in places you wouldn't expect, that are on sandstone soils that have the drainage, but also have hard. They're hard. They're not sandy. They're sandstone.
They're sandstone, so it's very different.
And that's what gives the vines, it makes them struggle to find the water table and makes the fruit richer and gives more vigor to the. Again, guys, this is such a unique, like every place in Italy is such a unique place. This is one of those really special places for wine, for natural Italy. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place and such a great place to visit. I miss Italy. I would have been in Italy twice already this year. I really miss getting to do those trips. So
something about the soil, just one last thing is that our soils are not all of them, but many of them, they're very ancient soils, and this means that basically like millions of years ago they were covered with water, so it was all sea. And in many vineyards, especially like Saffredi and Poggiovalente, when we planted the vineyard, we found inside the vineyards a lot of fossils, and so this is something that I think gives a lot of also salinity and minerality to the wine. So it's something very, very interesting that we have.
It's one of the things, and we're going to taste. We're only going to taste one of your wines today, and once we taste that, we also want to talk about your newest wine, Le Pupille. But the wine we're going to taste today is the Saffredi, and can you guys see this bottle? It's kind of too shiny. There we go. This is the 30-year. Wow, we have the same bottle. Who thought we had the same? I'm so lucky to get to do this job because I get to enjoy. Tracy and my wife and I will enjoy the wine tonight at dinner. And guys, this is, to me, this is like one of the classic Italian wines that I think a lot of people haven't paid enough attention to. I was so lucky to get to spend time with these wines when I was, 15 or so years ago. Can you tell us the whole story of Saffredi? Tell us the grape blend, how this came about. And also, I want everybody to notice, look at this cork. You guys see how, I wish you could tell us a little, I hope you can would talk to us a little bit about the quality. This is, first of all, look at the length of the cork. And this is for long-term aging. These are really well made wines, beautiful, elegant wines. And you can see that every detail, like even the quality of this cork is it's just perfect. Can you tell us the history, the legacy of this wine and how it came about? And now this is the 30th anniversary, 87 is the vintage. This is the 2017.
Yeah. So first of all, when I talk about Saffredi, I always like to say that Saffredi, it's not a wine that that we wanted to make just to follow a trend.
No, by no means.
But it's almost a wine that that happened by chance, we can say. So Freddy was my grandfather, and in the early 80s he planted this vineyard of Cabernet Sauvignon, which was only 2 hectares, so really, really small. And this vineyard was intended to be blended with Sangiovese. But then the vineyard became productive the year that my grandfather passed away, which was 1985. And so my mother that year decided to continue this project that my grandfather had started. And together with the person who was our consultant at that time, who was Giacomo Takis, they followed
the legendary Giacomo. He's one of the greatest Italian winemakers of all time.
Yeah. So they made the harvest of this vineyard, and my mother realized that this Cabernet was really unique, and so she decided to make the vinification separately. And the same year she planted a new vineyard, which still today is Saffredi's vineyard, with Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and at the beginning Alicante. And then she decided to make a new wine coming from this vineyard in honor of my grandfather. And so the first vintage on the market of Saffredi was 1987, with the vineyard of my grandfather. So the first year it was only Cabernet Sauvignon. And Saffredi, it's been one of the first super Tuscan, one of the first Bordeaux blend to be produced in Tuscany, and it was also the wine that really made people talk about Fattoria Le Pupille, but also about Maremma.
Yeah. So your mom is called the Lady of Morellino for her.
Yeah.
I mean, your mom is such a pioneer from being a woman winemaker at a time when today we have so many women winemakers. At that time, there were very few women. And, she created, it's interesting. You said we weren't following a trend. There wasn't even a trend then.
Yeah, exactly.
You created the trend. And I mean, man, when I taste this one, I was thinking about this today. Everybody, when everybody was against super Tuscans and they said, oh, I don't want to drink Bordeaux varieties that are grown in Italy. Well, first of all, Bordeaux varieties have always been grown in Italy.
Yeah.
This is something that goes back literally to the Renaissance. And probably even further. So it's not like these grapes are not indigenous to Italy. The other thing is that when you taste this wine, these are Bordeaux grapes, but you taste Tuscany. You taste the classic, in Italian we call it the macchia mediterranea, the Mediterranean maquis. Sometimes we call it garrigue. It's another word. You taste that Mediterranean scrub. This wine could only be made in Tuscany. Yeah. And the other thing that I love, and I wrote this today on my blog too, the acidity in this wine is so gorgeous. This is not a big, huge, this is a wine we drank it at dinner and it was fantastic.
Mm.
What should we look for? What are we looking for when we taste Safredi?
Well,
I
what
love.
when we yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, when we make safredi, first of all we try to give word to the terroir of this beautiful
Hmm.
vineyard, and to express really the nature of the soil of this beautiful parcel, because I think it's really a magical place. And Safredi Vineyard, it's probably one of the, I don't know, one of the most like breathtaking place that I've ever seen. And but in terms of the style of the wine, as you were saying, I think this is something very, very important. Safredi is a wine that as soon as you smell it, you think of Tuscany. You think
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah. Totally,
uh,
totally.
yeah, and especially when it gets older, even more. Also when it's young, but when it gets old, you really feel like the helichrysum, some herbs that are typical of Maremma. So it's really interesting. And then something that we always think about when we make Safredi, it's elegance.
Hmm.
So we want it to be a wine that it's mm, more looking at the elegant side and not on the powerful side, because many super Tuscans are more like powerful and rich and bold, but Safredi it's more elegant, balanced, and with a good freshness, I think, and a nice acidity, as you were saying.
One, this wine, by the way, the wine is showing so well right now. It's really nice. You know, again, I've been so fortunate to be able to. I started following your wines in about 2005, and so I've tasted a lot of vintages of the wine. And one thing that's always impressed me is how you've never wavered. The wine it changes. There's vintage variation,
Yeah,
but the style is always this. You always have this freshness. You always have this acidity. You always have this minerality, and then that note of that Mediterranean herbs, the Mediterranean maqui,
Macchia,
the scrub of the style has always remained. I didn't taste the very early vintages of this wine, but I've tasted like a lot of them from the late 90s.
hmm.
And you really see, do you feel there's that kind of continuity in the wine or?
Well, I think that yeah, for sure there is an identity
Mhm.
that goes, you know, from the first until the last vintage. I think that there are some changes that are that maybe you can feel if you taste, you know, all the
Mhm.
vintages together. But it's especially like, for example, we worked for some years with a French consultant, and then like for 11 years, and then
Mhm.
so it's just maybe a little bit the hand, let's say, of the consultant, which determines, for example, the use of the oak or this kind of
Uh-huh.
things. But it's something that just someone who knows the wine very, very well can perceive. So it's something very small.
You just talked. You know, that's another thing I wanted to talk about today. One of the things we said, everybody said, oh, Super Tuscans are made in new oak and they taste oaky.
Okay, yeah.
I was reading the fact sheet for this wine today. It's 80% new oak aged,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
there's no oakiness
There's
in
no
this.
oakness. Yeah.
No oakiness. There's
No
no
oak.
oak spice. Here, oak is a tool that's and again, that's another one of the things that to me sets this wine apart. Is it's not trying to be an oaky Californian wine.
No, 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 no.
So it's oak is just a vessel that helps you get. Uh, so, Tinny, tell us a little bit about your approach to oak aging
Of
of the
course, yeah.
wines.
We use oak only on three of our five
Mhm.
red wines. So We use the oak mainly to to guarantee longevity to our wines, especially to the single vineyards or the Reserva. We select the oak very, very strictly, and this guarantee that even if we use a lot of new oak, like on Safredi, we still have the fruit, we still have the aromas, and we still have the characteristic of the wine, not of the oak, because we don't want the oak to be overwhelming on the wine. So we use only medium toasted barrique, and our consultant sometimes, I mean not sometimes, every year goes to the place where we take the barrels and select the oak by himself. Not all of them, but like 10% of the barriques that we use come from oak that he personally selected. So this is something very, very important as well.
Yeah, you said the magic words were the medium toast.
Medium toast.
And that's one of the things that people don't understand about oak is about barriques and oak barrels in general, is that heavier toasting is going to give you heavier oak flavor. Whereas a medium or light toast is not going to give you the oak flavor. You're using the oak to micro-oxygenate the wine, which, as you said, gives the wine life. Wine needs oxygen, right? And you need the new oak for that purpose, not to make the wine oaky. And I love, my wife will love this wine tonight. She's not, there is no oakiness. There's not that pinch of oak that you get in like a big style California wine or certain super Tuscan wines. And I think that's another thing that...
Yeah, it's a wine that even if it can age for like 30 years, you can definitely enjoy a glass when it's young. So this is very, very important, I believe.
I have to go back to this beautiful cork that... because I opened the wine earlier, really, because I wanted to take a picture of it. But, people say you can't judge a book by its cover, but I actually believe you can judge a lot. When you pull out a cork like this, it tells you a lot about how this winemaker is thinking of long-term aging, this is a long-term aging cork. Can you tell us anything about how you select your corks, or...
For Safredi, we use this kind of cork since many years. I don't remember when, honestly, but I think for sure more than 15 years. It's 47 or 49, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's one of the longest natural corks.
It's super long.
Yeah, I think it's 49 or 47, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's one of the longest cork that you can, of the longest natural cork that you can get. And it's very important for us because it's a guarantee for the final client, because this kind of cork has a very, 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 very low possibility to have faulty corks. So, and
it's
also, of course,
it's a beautiful cork.
It's a beautiful cork, and also, of course, it's a cork that lasts forever. So you can age the bottle for forever.
I just thought it was so important. It's such a when you pull a cork like this, you say, "Wow, tells me so much about the mindset of the producer." And I thought people would enjoy that. And sorry I didn't even, to throw you a question we didn't even talk about, but it's great to learn all this stuff. So there, again, one of the things I love about Fattoria Le Pupille is that it's everything against what people think Super Tuscans are. And one of the things that's so great about, we think of Super Tuscans as a bunch of old white dudes, sitting at a steakhouse, drinking their oaky Cabernet from Tuscany. And instead, you know, you're the face. People, one of the things that people don't understand about this wine is how soulful it is, and how, you know, how passionate you guys are about what you do. And I was so excited when I finally got to meet you. I've never met your mom. I hope I get to meet her soon. But this is a family operation. This is not, you know, somebody who invested $10 million in a gravity flow cellar with a barrique room. You know, no, this is a family that knows a lot about grape growing and winemaking. And you, as the next generation, you just launched a new wine. We're not going to taste it today, which I'm bummed about because I was really stoked to taste it. But the new wine from you guys is Le Pupille. And I'm sorry, my wife makes me use this beautiful light, and it's a little bright. But can you guys see the label? It might be
No,
hard.
I don't think I can
It's a little hard to see with the lighting here. I'm gonna turn off my light for a sec. Okay, there.
Okay, now it's
Now you can see it clearly.
yeah.
So, and by the way, it's not a Bordeaux bottle. The bottle shape is almost a Burgundian shape. Can you tell us about the wine and what? And I'm going to turn on my light again so my wife is happy. So
this wine, it's Le Pupille, which is our latest release. Okay, I have a bee on my jeans. And it's 100% Syrah, coming from two vineyards. One, it's right behind the new winery, let's say. And the other vineyard, it's where the winery started, so close to a village called Pereta. These two vineyards of Syrah were planted more than 20 years ago, so they're not so young. And making a Syrah was my mother's dream for many years. And finally, with vintage 2015, after some years of experimenting and selecting the right vineyards and the right parcels, we found the good balance, and we decided to launch this new project, this new wine. The very different thing about Le Pupille is that the vinification process are very, very unique compared to what we usually do, of course. So one vineyard makes fermentation in Newton-No, and for the vinification, we use orci, which are terracotta jars. So it's very similar to amphoras, but with a different shape, a little bit more round. And for the first vintage, which was 2015, we kept the grape on the skin for more than 8 months before we did the first racking. So it's a wine that it's really, really different for our standards, for our other wines. And I love the wine. It's very elegant, very it's like a fruit juice, because you really taste the
very juicy,
the flavor of the grape, of the varietal. So it's really, really unique.
And so is the entire production aged in amphora or in the terracotta? Yeah. It's
50% in tonneau and 50% in amphora.
50% in wood.
Yeah, and then we make the blend.
And I just, there's so, like, we could have just done a whole Instagram live just about this wine, because to me, there's so much in this wine that is so important. First of all, I love that you call them orcha, because that's a word I'll never forget the first time I read that word in Boccaccio. That's the Tuscan word, by the way, which is so cool. I love that you used that word. And I love how you're bringing old technology. Everybody's all into amphora right now. Amphora is actually the oldest style that goes back to
The
way
oldest,
before people
yeah,
were making wine. And I
yeah.
love, again, you guys are so thoughtful and soulful. You're not doing it because it's a trend. You're doing it because it's something that allows you to create the wine that that your mom envisioned and that she asked you to create. Now, do you think this wine is too young right now to open, or does this need some more
Mm,
time?
no, 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 no. I mean, it's a wine that it's not like Safredi or like Poggio Valente. It's very
Mm-hmm.
different. So I think it's very interesting to drink also now.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's gonna be also even more interesting to see how it will change and it will evolve, because of course 15 is the first vintage,
Okay.
um, but it's not a wine that needs. Um, I mean, I'm sure it can age very well for many years, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
wine that is definitely very enjoyable also now.
And this is the very first release. The 2015
First
is
release, yeah,
the first
yeah,
release of the.
yeah,
We tasted it in Miami, and I thought it was fantastic.
yeah.
I thought it was a really, really. And guys, again, I just have to keep coming back to this. You know, the next time that people say, "Oh, super Tuscans, they're oaky, they're they're from a fancy winery, they're not for real wine people," taste these wines and see, you know, come to my house and we'll open some of the wines because I have them. And you'll see these wines have so much soul. They're so terroir driven, and there's a lot of again, I've tasted the wines over the years, and you always find this elegance, this acidity,
Mm-hmm.
this classic note of Mediterranean maquis that I think is so. You know, this is why you grow. I'm sorry. This is why you grow Cabernet Sauvignon in Tuscany, and this is why you grow Syrah in Tuscany,
Yeah.
because these grapes can show really, if you grow them up in the hills and you grow them in the right spots, you can make extraordinary wines that are very terroir driven. And Clara, I'm so sorry we only have a couple more minutes because they give me a 45-minute
Okay, no
cap. Is
problem.
there anything you want to add before we say thank you so much for doing this? I know that my colleague Marion is going to publish a blog post on the Ethical Wine site with retail
Okay.
availability. And I want to thank you again personally for that bottle you brought to Miami in back in March. That was one of the most. That was just a magical moment when we drank that wine together. Do you
Thank
want
you.
to? Can you anything you want to add before we have to go?
No, actually, I just wanted to say hi to all the people who are joining or who joined the live. For me, it's very nice to see. I see a lot of people that I know that are here, and I just wanted to tell everyone that I hope to see you guys soon, because I usually travel a lot to the States, so I hope I can come back to see you, or you can come to visit us very, very soon. So this is just.
We need more Clara Gentili in our lives. We do. Wherever Clara is good wine and a lot of joy and a lot of
Ciao,
great.
Paolo.
There's Paolo. Clara, thanks so much. I'm so glad your family's doing well. And I'm going to save this bottle so we can do another live story and I can open this one too because I love it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
thanks,
Clara.
Jeremy. Thanks,
It's
Jeremy.
so great to see you. I'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ciao ragazzi, bye.
Ciao, Clara.
Bye, ciao.